Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. This episode may contain topics of murder, suicide, domestic violence, or sexual assault. Viewing discretion is advised. In this episode, there will be inserts of a pre-recorded interview by Nikko Jenkins himself and the Unforbidden Truth podcast. I want to thank Andrew for allowing me to use parts of this interview. Some of it is hard to hear, so I apologize for that. I highly recommend that you go listen to his podcast as well. It's very good. 5 days after walking free from prison, Nikko Jenkins picked up a gun, and Omaha would never be the same. In less than 2 weeks, 4 people were dead, chosen at random, killed without mercy, and justified by a voice Jenkins claimed came from a god. This is the story of one of the most chilling killing sprees in modern American crime. These are the 4 victims that were ripped out of their families' lives. At about 5:01 a.m. on August 11, 2013, a patrol officer discovered 2 bodies in a white Ford pickup truck parked near a city swimming pool at 18th and F Street in Spring Lake Park. The 2 victims, identified as Juan Uribe Pena and Jorge C. Cajigaruiz, had each been shot once in the head by a shotgun, and their pockets turned inside out. They were lured to meet 2 women for a sexual encounter. There was not much information I could find about their background or lifestyle. This is Curtis Bradford. Nikko and Curtis actually knew each other. In fact, they took a picture together the night of the murder. Curtis's mom said he was a happy child, and that earned him the nickname Taz because he was always running around. She said her son had a rough patch as a teen. He was released from prison just 7 months before he was brutally shot. His goals were to not be in the street anymore, to go to college and make his mom proud. He planned to go to college for business. On August 19th, around 7 a.m., the body of Curtis Bradford was found outside a detached garage at 18th and Clark Street by a man returning home from a night shift at a convenience store. Investigators arrived to find 1 revolver round and 1 shotgun slug round in the back of Bradford's head. It is believed that Nikko and Erica, Nikko's sister, lured Bradford out by telling him that they wanted to do a robbery with him before shooting him in the back of the head. It is also believed that Erica wanted him dead because his friends previously shot at her house. Bradford would be the only victim familiar to Jenkins. Jenkins' 4th and final victim, Andrea Kruger, a mother of 3, was discovered on August 21st at about 2:15 a.m. by a deputy sheriff responding to a shots-fired call. Her body was found lying in the road at 168th and 4th Street with 4 9mm gunshot wounds, 2 to the face, 1 to the neck, and 1 to the shoulder/back. Kruger had been returning home after a bartending shift near 178th. And Pacific Street surveillance footage showed her locking up the Deja Vu Lounge at 1:47 a.m. At 6:30 that evening, Kruger's gold 2012 Chevrolet Traverse SUV was found abandoned 12 miles away in an alley at 43rd and Charles Street. Later that week, a news conference was held by Douglas County Sheriff Tim Dunning, in which he stated that investigators believed the SUV had been abandoned roughly 2.5 hours after being stolen, and that a feeble attempt had been made at setting the vehicle's interior ablaze. Andrea Lynn Roberts Kruger was born on November 21, 1979 in Omaha, Nebraska to Kent and Terry Fryermuth Roberts. She grew up in Valley, where she graduated from Valley High School in 1998 and went on to receive her business degree from UNO. As a young girl, Andrea was very active in sports, including soccer, softball, basketball, and swimming. Her charisma and spunk made her the life of the party. Andrea married Michael Ryan Kruger on August 9, 2008 at the First Christian Church in Omaha. They have raised their children Jaden Bender, Ava, and Hartley Kruger in Omaha. She enjoyed browsing for bargains, creating original gift ideas for others, and trying new things. She loved spending weekdays with girlfriends doing activities with the kids. Andrea was always on the go, ready to make each day as beautiful as the last. Highlights in her life include the births of her children, her wedding day, vacationing with her family, and going on trips with her Vegas girls. Andrea was selfless, independent, strong, and the heart of her family. She was loving and nurturing. She had an energetic personality that enabled others to be better people. She was ornery, feisty, and could push people's buttons then get them to laugh at the same time. Andrea enjoyed the company of friends and family, country music, traveling, and relaxing at the beach with a good book. The loves of her life were her husband and kids. She will always be missed, but Andrea will inspire us all each day. These 4 victims were just innocent people going about their day until they crossed paths with Jenkins. Jenkins was born in Denver, Colorado to David A. McGee Sr. and Lori Jenkins. Starting from an early age, Jenkins had a lengthy history of mental health and behavioral issues. In 1993, while attending Highland Elementary School in Omaha, then 7-year-old Jenkins was temporarily removed from the custody of his mother after he brought a loaded .25 caliber handgun to school. At age 11, Jenkins was accused of theft, subsequently admitting to stealing on 3 occasions. He began skipping school around the same time, leading to placement in a group home in Papillion, Nebraska. He frequently assaulted other children and was forced to leave the home in February 1998, following an incident in which Jenkins whipped another child with a clothes hanger. In 2009, his father died while Jenkins was imprisoned. That same year, Nikko Jenkins and Erica Jenkins, who was also imprisoned at the time, were granted furlough with corrections officers to accompany them to their grandmother's funeral. During the funeral, after a guard uncuffed one of Jenkins's hands, so he could use the restroom, Jenkins and his sister attacked the guard but were both restrained. In 2010, following Jenkins' attack on a correctional officer, Jenkins first made claims of having mental illness after making an insanity plea. During talks with a psychiatrist at Douglas County Correctional Center, Jenkins placed blame for his issues on childhood abuse and claimed to hear voices from Egyptian gods. Here is a little of what Nikko says about the voices.
That's one of the other things that's the same situation. Voice commands telling me to do those things and commit those crimes, and I was untreated for my mental illness, and I was just following the commands of the voices that was controlling me.
Do you remember specific things that these voices would say to get you to commit these crimes?
They would just tell me things like this is what we need. You need to do this. This is what's gonna make us happy. We'll be able to drive around and go do things and be able to go do this and go do that. It's just like little manipulation tactics they would say to me that will just make me, because I always liked to drive. I always liked to drive when I was young and growing up. So that was one of the things that kind of interested me when they started saying that stuff.
Whenever you went and do things that you would hear, them telling you to do, would that exacerbate anything and everything that was going on? When you just ignored it or didn't do so?
No, if I didn't listen to them, they would just scream and yell loud, and then it would just drive me insane. It would just drive me crazy, and I would just start saying everything that they're saying, and just my behavior would start getting weird. Because I would be in such a frenzy and so agitated.
Nikko said the god Apophis. Snake god Apo likely refers to Apep or Apophis, the giant serpent of chaos in ancient Egyptian mythology, the arch-nemesis of the sun god Ra, embodying darkness, disorder, and destruction that Ra fought nightly in the underworld to bring the sun's light back to the world. Now here is him talking about his mental illness.
But the 20 and 19-year-olds were in a different mob, and then the younger 18 and under inmates were in a different mob. And I went to the adult prison at 19. They sent me to the adult prison at 19 because in the state of Nebraska, you're an adult at that age.
How did you spend your time in prison the first time?
Well, I used to get into riots and fights and assaulting guards and stuff like that. But basically, all of that violence and all of that stuff triggers my mental illness. And I mean, all of the violence is birthed from my psychotic symptoms and my untreated mental illness. Hold on real fast. Let me grab something real quick. I'm grabbing because they have an IMO, involuntary treatment medication, and I want to read to you what my psychologist says about that. It's crazy that you just brought that up. My psychologist from the prison system name is Brandon Hollister, and he has to always submit a narrative for why I should be on involuntary medication treatment. And it says, he says, I can actually send you these documents too. It says danger to others is evidenced by, and then it says, it gives the history. It says, Mr. Jenkins presents with a significant history of aggressiveness and homicidal ideation related to mood and psychotic symptoms, and he has reduced his aggressiveness and homicidal ideation since initiation of an involuntary medication order in April of 2018. I recommend additional treatment with involuntary injectable antipsychotics to further reduce his agitation and delusional beliefs about NDCS staff, especially as Mr. Jenkins has a history of medication non-compliance, and he has failed to comply with voluntary oral psychiatric medications. The reason why I wanted to read that is because it's another mental health professional, a psychologist, that says that my violence and my aggressiveness and, the homicidal ideations and all is because of my untreated mental illness. But because I've been under my involuntary medication order, I've been doing well, and I haven't hurt nobody or nothing like that. And since I've been arrested, but I still have those mutilation of self from time to time, because I struggle with that part of it.
Was the forced injections, was that a thing the first time you were in prison as well?
No, it wasn't. That was one of the reasons why that's what they should have done, because I don't want to take my medication. They should have put me on a involuntary medication order like I am now.
Did you have any access to mental health services when you were in prison the first time?
Yes, I had access to it, but my doctor, they moved me away from my doctor, and then the doctor that they had me at NSP before I got out said that I wasn't mentally ill, and she only met with me for like 20 minutes. Her name was Dr. Cheryl Jack. But all of the other doctors that I ever ran across, Dr. Oliveto, Dr. Jane Dalkey, Dr. Bruce Gutnick, Dr. Martin Wetzel, Natalie Baker, the list goes on and on. I got Dr. Taylor Overtusen. I got 6 or 7, almost 10 psychiatrists and psychologists. They all come to the same conclusion. And these are different psychiatrists from different backgrounds and stuff.
How would you say your overall experience in prison the first time was?
Well, I was being mistreated and stuff like that. Like they would use pepper spray to spray me when I would not give them my personal property, and drag me out of my cell with a spit sock all over my face and spray me with so much full of pepper spray that I would urinate on myself. And they put me in a room. They put me in a room with just a blanket and a mattress and the boxers and t-shirt and socks on my back with nothing else for months at a time. Literally, 3 months at a time, I would be living like that.
So you're paroled on July 30th, 2013. Do you believe that you were prepared to be released into society?
Of course not. If you know my case, you would understand that I didn't want to get out, and I told him that I didn't want to get out. But listen, man, let me break this down for you, man, because this is what I want your listeners to know. This was a governmental Nebraska conspiracy against one man to deny him mental health treatment based off of racism, based off of discrimination, because of who I was, and I committed violent acts towards them in their prison system. Basically, my doctor was psychiatrist Natalie Baker. She diagnosed me 5 months before I was released in July of 2013 with schizoaffective bipolar type. She stated that Nikko Jenkins is at this time mentally ill and dangerous, and what we need is a civil commitment. And this dude named Mark Wallace was a psychologist. He wasn't even my psychologist, but he basically was the hitman that was hired by then Nebraska Department of Correctional Services Director Robert Houston. He was hired as a hitman to kill my civil commitment to the county attorney of Johnson County. My mother, Lori Jenkins, tried to file a civil commitment complaint with the Johnson County attorney. She did, actually. This initiated this Richard R. Smith dude, county attorney of Johnson County, where Council Prison is housed at. He called up here to the prison and said, "Is Nikko Jenkins mentally ill and dangerous?" The dude, Mark Wallach, this is all on transcript, man. September 18, 2014, in front of 7 Nebraska senators. This dude, Mark Wallach, got exposed and admitted that he withheld my psychiatric evaluation. He had the evaluation to say that I was mentally ill and dangerous and schizoaffective bipolar type, but he said that he did not have it. He said that I was receiving mental health treatment, and I wasn't. I was being held in 43-hour-day lockdown, and I wasn't being treated. And then, basically, this is where the conspiracy comes into play, is because if he would have gave that report to the county attorney, Johnson County attorney, Richard R. Smith, I would have gotten in front of the Board of Mental Health and I would have committed myself. And this is what I want the public to know. This is what I want everybody to know about Nikko Jenkins. If I could do this all over again, and there wasn't a conspiracy about me getting the treatment that I deserve and getting in front of the Board of Mental Health, these people would still be alive, because I would have told the mental health judge, Apocalypse wants me to human sacrifice. I don't want to do this. I need treatment. I need to be in the hospital. 2 total papers. That's the guard. I was doing a supply card. But at least that's real. At least you guys know I'm in prison. But but like I said, I would have got myself committed. I would have got myself committed, and it states in Nebraska law I had the power to commit myself, man. But that's where the conspiracy came into play. And then they didn't give me any medication. They didn't put me on forced injections. They didn't give me no mental health treatment as far as therapy. They didn't lead me to no therapists and no clinics, none of that. And then another thing, this is another thing that I want the public to know. Not only did they know that they were releasing a mentally ill and dangerous, psychotic, violent inmate, they called Omaha Police Department and told Omaha Police Department, Nikko Jenkins is out today, he's getting out today, and he's most likely going to kill somebody or cause harm to somebody. They called the police and told Omaha Police this. And I know this because October 1st, 2013, at my preliminary hearing, Officer David Snyder, 1822 badge number, stated that under sworn oath testimony. This is in transcripts. So not only did they know what they were doing, it was premeditated, because they called the police the same day that I got out.
There is a lot more to this interview, but I wanted to share with you the main points. If you would like to hear the full interview, please go to the Unforbidden Truth podcast, and you can find both part 1 and part 2 of the interview. Again, I want to thank the host Andrew for allowing me to use parts of Nikko's own words. He clearly blames the system for not providing him with the mental health care that he needed. I do agree with that part. There is a big problem when it comes to giving people the care they need for their mental health. I don't know if I agree that if that report would have been submitted, none of this would have happened. I feel Nikko must take some responsibility for his actions, but on the other hand, maybe it was a full mental health collapse. What do you think? So now, let's get into the trial of this case. In handwritten letters dated November 3, 2013, submitted to the Omaha World-Herald, prosecutors, and a judge, Jenkins said he wished to plead guilty to all counts in the 4 slayings, and that he would protect Apophis Kingdom with animalistic savage brutality. On February 19, 2014, Jenkins filed a federal lawsuit seeking $24.5 million from the state of Nebraska for wrongful release and stating that his claims of hearing voices from Apophis were repeatedly ignored. Several of Jenkins' former psychiatrists were in disagreement over whether Jenkins was competent to stand trial and discussed the remaining possibility of either schizophrenia or psychopathy, although there was a general consensus that the defendant could still stand trial even if a mental disorder was recognized. After being declared competent to stand trial, the proceedings against Jenkins commenced. Upon his request, Jenkins was allowed to represent himself at trial under the guidance of advisory attorneys. Throughout the trial, Jenkins maintained that he acts under the command of Apophis. His courtroom antics included speaking in tongues, howling and laughing as prosecutors recounted the details of his victims' deaths. On April 16, 2014, Judge Peter Batalin found Nikko Jenkins guilty of all 4 murders. Throughout his trial and imprisonments, Jenkins also engaged in self-mutilation numerous times, including on his face, tongue, and groin areas that required numerous stitches. In May 2017, Jenkins was sentenced to death by a 3-judge panel. He was also sentenced to an additional 450 years on weapons charges connected with the murders. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear any appeals and upheld his conviction. This was the case of Nikko Jenkins, but more importantly the story of his 4 victims. Thank you for watching this episode. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. Till next time, stay safe and watch your back.